Hey friends, today we're going to be talking about the Archer class. I know it's not called that, that's what I'm calling it. I'm calling it the Archer class because it's a generalized term for people who use bows. I could say bowmen, but in my mind that's mostly longbowmen or people who use longbows. Don't get me wrong, I'm kind of actually primarily using longbow, but that's aside the point. At any rate, I digress. I want to give you a little bit of a base knowledge for bows. Here is a bow. I know you probably absolutely understand what a bow is. Now, I'd like you to take a look at these stats. This is a level 18 legendary Wolf's Snarl longbow. Just on the stats alone, this thing would qualify as a crapendary. I'll explain why in a minute. For now, remember this has got 27 power. It's a level 18 bow. 1 second to draw it. That's a long time. Stamina cost. It's got a decent durability. And a small amount of arrow speed. And then we've got all of these bonuses here that I got from leveling it up. This is a fully leveled up Wolf's Snarl longbow. Now, the gear quality goes legendary, to epic, to magic, or to rare, to uncommon, to common. Why do I call this a crapendary? This is level 18, like I said. Look at the stats. Now, if we come over here, we look at these stats. Level 14, 17 power, better draw speed, more durability, same arrow speed. If we go over here and we look at this bow, this level 16, we have a lower quality, right, of bow, but it's got not only lower level, but it's got about the same power as this fully upgraded longbow. This isn't upgraded at all. Proof is here, where we've got piercing damage and shroud magic damage, not colored in. It's got okay durability, about the same as the Wolf Snarl bow, not nearly as good as the Silver Shot bow. And the arrow speed here is the same universally. I think that this might be something they've messed up on accident, or maybe they forgot about it. I have no idea. To be perfectly honest, it's whatever, I don't care. But the reason why this bow, this level 14 bow, can compete in stats here with this bow is because this bow comes from a dungeon. This one came from the open world, and this one came from a boss. This is actually rather powerful. Like this fell bow here, it's also rather powerful. The critical damage is where these things get their stuff, and this one has stamina leech. I use this one for general combat, and then when I run out of stamina, I can quickly get it back with this. It's kind of crazy how quickly I can get it back with this, but that all being said, this bow looks better on paper, but I believe these stats are wrong. I don't honestly understand with precision what power is, but I can tell you this outdamages it by a mile, and there's only 2 points of difference, but there are a bunch of differences with the upgrade. But this one here, level 14 with 17 power, this one for some reason does way more damage. Now, 10% here, 10% here, 20%, right? I don't get this one doing 400 to 500 damage to undead, and this one doing only 1, maybe 200 damage to an undead person. Now, granted, we are using these bow and arrows, which are basically made to kill dead things, or hollow, as they're called in here. But I digress. Those are some of the basic parts. That all being said, I want to move on to the meat of the video now. So, welcome to the light. So the first thing I recommend you do is you work to unlock farming. So as you notice, there's a bit of a difference between the basic start here and here. And if you're just starting out, your flame level being super low, you're going to have a problem getting up to this point. At this point here, things are in the teens, as far as levels go. Or they're low teens, right? Like 10 to 15. Before you get the farmer, if you want to have a little bit of an easier time and not have to use basic arrows, you could unlock the hunter. Getting to up here to get the farmer becomes much easier. The best thing you could do early on is locate a couple of things. This salt mine over here is phenomenal, and this small flint mine is misnamed because there's always a crap ton of flint in there, more than they usually use. And it's not very far away. Flint arrows are what I recommend you use for quite a while, up until you get copper arrows. And basically, there's copper in pretty well good abundance over here, and kind of just, well, here. Really, honestly, anywhere but here, basically. Anywhere but the starting level area has copper everywhere, it seems like. So don't stress about needing to get copper too much. You'll end up with more than you can find. Or not necessarily find. You'll end up with more than you want, is what I mean to say. Okay. So now that I've explained that part, don't stress gear too much. Don't stress crafting gear too much. Because eventually, you're going to pick up gear that is better than what you have. I know this is common, but I didn't make this guard helmet of the north. I picked it up. I made that. I did not make those. I picked them up. I didn't make that. I picked them up. And I did not make that. I picked them up. When you pick stuff up, they have a variety of different levels of stuff. They're nice. They're good. And they do their jobs well. Typically. Now, you're probably wondering why I'm wearing a bracelet. It's because I have an axe. And this is my bracelet. It's the shield. It actually does its job really well. And the reason why I have a melee weapon on my hotbar is because this one does health leech, so it keeps me safe. Because I'm more than likely going to get jumped while using a bow. Especially one with a stupidly long draw speed like that. I have been jumped more times than I can count, and I'm perfectly fine with it. Because the damage this thing puts out in the general world is enough to kill most things rather well. On to the next thing, is the skill section. The big question is, where do you put your skills? Your skill points. Well, this is unlocked, this little ring here. Not everything inside of it, not everything outside of it. This is your starting point, is what I mean to say. So you can go up from here into Dex, highly recommend it. Especially if you're going to be an archer. What I recommend is your first point be here. Okay? Now this will give you a little bit of struggle. Okay? But then you go to marksman. And then you get sharpshooter. And then after that, you get skill shot. Because where we're leading to is this multi-shot. I have to warn you. When it says it will cost additional arrows, it means it will cost additional arrows. There's a caveat. The creators did not like how people had to make a lot of arrows. The only arrow I have unlocked right now that is good to do or use is a shroud arrow. For this, you need the alchemist. Because you need goo. Shroud sacks are not hard to get. Neither's goo. These are not that hard to get. But every time you fire it, you will only use one arrow regardless of your multi-shot status. I have yet to fire multiple arrows since the update with a special arrow. And if I am, I don't see it. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not, that just means I've not seen it. So, that's kind of a bad thing, and kind of not. The ranger section is good, okay? I have not done beasting just because I'm not usually in the air often enough for this to matter. Also, if I'm falling slowly and aiming, I'm sure I can get it well, but some enemies move fast enough, most enemies move fast enough to where they can catch me in the air. That's the last place I want to be, is in the air with my pants down. Now, something else I want to let y'all know is when you go down the assassin tree, you're going to see, like, infuse your ranged explosives with mana. You'll see exploding arrow. You'll see exploding arrow again. This is for an end game arrow that I have not unlocked yet, but I'm working on unlocking. It is the last special arrow you get, and to the best of my knowledge, it's the only arrow you'll end up using, from what I've seen. I ended up going to a server, and they ended up giving me some of those arrows, and it didn't unlock them for me for some reason. It didn't even give me the quest to get iron. And I suspect it's because I just wasn't far enough down in the storyline. So I ended up having to depend on them for these arrows, and I don't like doing that. In that vein of thought of not relying on other people, this section here makes your life easier. Especially this one here makes your life leveling up easier. I got this because it does more damage. I got this on Whimsy to find out if it actually works. So far, no. I suspect this only works with the exploding arrow. I'll let you guys know later on if that's really the case. Moving on. Survivor is a good next place to go, and I don't honestly see very many situations where Beastmaster is going to do me any good. But with tigers and whatnot, I actually think I might end up doing this as well. Just because I'm tired of getting attacked by packs of cats. Well, there's one more section we gotta go on to, and since we got the farmer for seed beds, right? So since we got the farmer and we got her for seed beds, there is something that I use frequently, and that is this vegetable puree. Remember, I told you to do the salt mine. It's because of this. Forest beets are good. You'll find them on your way to the farmer. So it kind of really helps you out. Farm soil is not hard to make. Bone meal you get from killing animals and undead. So if you decide to challenge the hollow halls, you will end up getting plenty of bone meal. Plenty of bone meal, because everything drops bones. The bones in there drop bones. Which is like, duh, of course they drop bones, right? But no, seriously, it's way too much bone. So, don't worry about bones. Also, don't worry about the points it takes to upgrade stuff. What I mean is, when you go to enhanced equipment, these little coin things, I realize I only have 97. It's because I actually recently upgraded this bow, because I just got it. It was actually surprisingly expensive to upgrade. I'm sure they'll change that, but still. You can sacrifice weapons, like this one here, for those coins. And, I mean, they're runes, but, I mean, come on, look at coins. With that being said, it's not too hard to upgrade things. It's really not. And you get lots of stuff by running dungeons and whatnot, by running, dungeons. And it's not really that hard. This game is pretty good, and that is my build for the Archer class. If you have any questions about my build, please, I'd love to meet you in the comments on it. Well, without further ado, I hope you have a beautiful day,